real low. I don't know if it's on my side or.
Hi, we're live. This is Charlotte Pierce. I'm the producer of Ready Row USA. We're embarking on our 110th episode plus, and we have an exciting episode centered around ocean rowing here with our guests Foar From Home, the Atlantic ocean crossing that they recently completed, and we'll be talking about that. But at Ready Row USA, we've seen firsthand how rowing changes lives, and we're on a mission to connect and collaborate with the rowing community. So, from trainers and ocean rowers to masters of a certain age, like myself, and boat houses, we talk to vendors and artisans and all sorts of folks in this wonderful sport. We love talking about rowing, and our themes this year are inclusion, access, and diversity, and fitness for life through rowing. So that those will be coming in. Most of our episodes will be, touching on those topics in some way. So we love to have people chime in on our social media platforms or on our episodes on the website, which Ryan is showing you now, readyrowusa.com. And nothing gives us a greater thrill than seeing that little notification dot on Instagram or Twitter. And we try and get back to people. We pay a personal attention to your questions and comments and episode suggestions, and we do a really good job taking care of our sponsors. So we would love to have people join us on a live stream or join the conversation on one of our past episodes. I'd like to acknowledge our sponsors, and then we'll get into the nitty gritty here. The Wave Coastal and Offshore Rowing Magazine they've just put out their 10th episode, and Craig Chalk is the publisher of that. It's a great place to get information, resources, and do networking. There's a great community around it. So please check it out and at thewaverowing.com. And our next sponsor is Resolute and Sykes. Fabio Selvig represents both of those companies. He's down here in Eastern Mass. And thank you, Fabio, for sponsoring kind of on a long-term basis. And another sponsor is Burnham Boat Slings. We love them. Great company. They are in our customer service hall of fame because they're just outstanding. It's customer service kind of built into the DNA of that company. I think a lot of people would agree with me. Good Inklings is my web designer. I love Laura. I could not produce this show without her. Thank you, Laura. Goodinklings.com. Excellent WordPress site designer. And now you want to flip back I'll back off and do banners, Ryan and Jason. Ryan and Jason Jason was a coach for Foar From Home, and Ryan is a man about rowing. Well, I think you were on our careers in rowing episode, weren't you?
Yeah, some people just figure out how to be dirtbags for life, and that's all right. I'm really excited to be here talking to this crew of four guys, pretty exceptional in a few ways, which we're going to get to go into. And our co-host tonight, Jason, is also a rowing coach professionally. That's how he and I have known each other over the last couple decades. And so luckily he called me up when this first started, and it was because we were both rowing coaches, and he had been approached by this crew that we're getting to talk to tonight. And so we're going to get to see a recap, not just of this crossing that they recently completed, but also of a lot of the process and what goes into it. It gets said sometimes in ocean rowing that 95% of the work happens before you even leave land. And then do you guys also hear, wow, you must be so committed. You crossed an entire ocean. The thing I always found funny about that is once you leave, after a couple hours, what else are you going to do? The easiest thing to do at that point is go ahead and finish the crossing and get out of the boat with everybody on the other side, right? But anyhow, recalling as we have this conversation tonight, also my own crossing 10 years ago on a very different type of boat. So it was contrasting in a few ways. One of them was that the boat I did it on was a big catamaran with a crew of 16. We didn't know each other very well. Some of us had never met at all until we arrived in Africa to put the boat together. And it was a hodgepodge of people who had been brought into the project in different ways. And so it was a totally different type of experience, but there's a book about that if you're interested in it. That was Little Ship of Fools. I'm not the author. I get nothing out of that, but it's a good read about ocean rowing, especially if you want to read about some other type of ocean rowing. But to that end, the Talisker Whiskey Atlantic Challenge. Jason, give us a quick rundown on what we're talking about here.
So Talisker Whiskey Atlantic Challenge. Hey, everybody, I'm Jason Cottingham. And one thing I want to say first, Ryan, it's hard to believe it's been literally almost 2 decades since we first met. That's really hard to believe. But the Talisker Whiskey Atlantic Challenge, it's a race from LaGomera to Antigua. And you're in, and the guys will be able to tell a lot more about this, but singles, doubles, triples, quads, and sculling. And so it's a pretty grueling race, and it appears and seems like there are a lot of different ways of going about it, right? Some people are doing it for the journey, some are doing it for the race, some are raising money like our guys, and some a little bit of both or all of those things. So one thing that I want to touch on before we get started, right? So the Talisker Whiskey Atlantic Challenge also has a fundraiser on top of it, or an awareness of One for the Sea. Right. So can one of you guys just tell us a little bit about One for the Sea? So we hit on it. I think the Talisker Whiskey Atlantic Challenge has done a ton for ocean rowing and just awareness in general. So I want to make sure we hit on that first, just so we don't miss it. What is One for the Sea? Paul.
There you go, Paul.
There we go.
So the One for the Sea is actually a really kind of dynamic program that they interlaced in the campaign. Since everybody's going out on the ocean, they choose to select a few boats in the fleet to actually be ambassadors to campaign and highlight the sensitivity of protecting our oceans through conservation. Every year they'll have a main theme or a main focus. This year they were trying to really highlight the preservation of the kelp forest down in South Africa.
Wow.
The depletion of it, and so it was us. It was Anna Victorious, and then Migolo. So we had 3 boats out of the fleet of 36 boats that were out there that were sea ambassadors. And just to kind of end on our piece of it, we really interlaced, because we didn't want to move from our veteran mission. So when we wrote our essay to try to persuade them why we wanted to be sea ambassadors, we kind of interweaved the veteran concept into it, that the veteran community uses the ocean and even the waterways and the backwater, the intercoastal and all over lakes for mental strength and mental conditioning and mental awareness.
Gotcha. Very cool. Very cool. So your connection to the water is obviously pretty intense. And Paul, we'll get into it a little bit later, but I think of any picture that I've seen of you, you're either in the water, under the water, or on top of the water somehow. Like, all of your pictures are pretty incredible. But so this is Foar From Home. Paul is is it official skipper? Is that what we're going with? Organizer? Cam's shaking his head. Yeah.
Yeah, he's our skipper.
Skipper.
Yes, sir.
It seems like he's the analytical navigator, the brains of the group. Bill's Bill's the strong silent type, and Cam's the muscle, right? Like that's pretty much how we're rolling through this. It's probably pretty close. But one thing I like about you guys, and about Foar From Home and your mission as a whole is the relationship you guys have with your own community in Amelia Island, right? Your island, you had the shirts, it takes an island across an ocean, right? And you guys absolutely adopted that, and your community adopted that, and it was incredible to watch. What sort of impact did that have on you guys in helping you get across the Atlantic?
Oh, I think if I could start out, it was everything. I mean, it truly is what it says. I mean, it takes an island across an ocean, and that island is everybody that supported us, whether they are from Fernandina, Northeast Florida, or America, or anywhere around the world for that matter, because we had people from other countries as well. But yeah, it's pretty surreal to sit here and talk about it after the fact and look back on it, because as it was building, it was always an ooh-ah moment every time somebody joined. But to sit back and look at the numbers and the people and the love that they shared and the support that they gave us, it's not anything that I can truly wrap my mind around even at this point.
Yeah.
Guys, where did the name for the boat come from?
Yeah, I'll jump on that one. Well, there's 4 of us, 4 F-O-U-R. But to be respectable rowers, you got to have a rowing reference in your name somewhere, right?
Gotcha.
And since none of us were actually rowers,
well, you're rowers now.
We are now, but we put it right up front. we put it right up front. Let's just go with Foar From Home. It was a great play on words, and it turned out there's a couple of other teams that ended up this year that also had a Foar F-O-A-R rep. For Tomorrow also rowed this year, so they were just as clever as we were.
Yeah. And so as part of the race, you had your team name, and then you also had your boat, which became your home and your vessel and everything. And that was tagged in Amelia Island, Florida, where you guys are from. And what was it named?
What, Courageous?
Courageous.
Yeah.
That was given to it. It came with the boat, although it was a great name. It was a great fit.
You got gifted a perfect boat.
Yeah, the name. I think the name fit the 4 individuals rowing it.
Very cool.
It was also used in some sailing competition, right? That Ted Turner won a time ago.
Yeah.
Hub could probably highlight that a little bit better.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was the name of the boat in the America's Cup when Ted Turner won for 2 years. So that was a great tie-in too. But the boat was actually constructed for a British reality TV show called Don't Rock the Boat, which was from 2018, I think.
Very fitting.
No, I'm not kidding. They used it on a TV show. It had a red team and a blue team, and rowing was part of the challenge. It was an interesting show. You got to watch it on YouTube if you want to see. But I actually sat through all 5 episodes because they never called it by its name. They just said blue boat, red boat, blue boat. And at the very end, in the Spice Girl, in this beautiful English accent, says, "Courageous, courageous, this is your teammate." And it was nice to hear the boat name finally after sitting through 5 episodes. So she came with that. She came.
Wow, you sat through all 5 of them.
I did, just to hear the name of the boat. It was fabulous.
Nice.
Fun.
Nice. Brian, let's pull up that picture one more time of them rowing. And I got to make one comment here. That's pretty good length. That's pretty good length. This is a training row when I was out there with them. You guys have probably rowed a half a dozen times at this point, maybe. I don't know, a dozen times. That's pretty good length, Ryan. Right? I mean,
yeah, it looks good.
Not that they used any of that length rowing in the ocean, bouncing around in there. But,
you get to a point where you're just kind of like in this hypnosis anyway, and you're doing well to stay awake and keep your body moving, right? Much less remembering anything Jason ever told you about rowing more efficiently or effectively. But no, this looks good, and so it's really fun that you guys got to learn how to do this motor movement, which isn't really simple. I think a lot of people who have been around the water assume that rowing is going to be easy to pick up. Like you learn to ride a bike, you're going to figure out how to row. But there's a little more to it than that. Before we get a little sidetracked, and Jason, I do want you to talk about how the training went, but the boat itself, because I think this is something a lot of our audience are going to be flat water rowers who already understand the rowing movement, but these boats are fully self-contained. So we are not talking about having somebody follow us and hand you food along the way or whatever. You've got water makers, you've got your navigation equipment, you've got the power sources to run those. You've got your repair work and all of your food, any other supplies you might need, and as well as where you're staying at night is all aboard this boat, which we've got a couple photos of here. And that's pretty cool. So there, built in the UK mostly, a lot of them, but there's a photo here of the whole fleet. And this is just trying to draw the picture of what these guys just participated in, is all the crazies in one place at one time. and then you go from there, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I would think you got to be. Well, you guys are a little crazy, but you got to be a little crazy to do this, or driven, right, or motivated. All right, so let's talk a little bit about training. We'll get through this. So you guys came to campus. We taught you how to row. You know, that was the majority of my part is getting in a boat and just making sure you're kind of making the right movement going. But what was your training regime actually like, and how long did it start? Right, you started 12, 14 months out, 18 months out. I forget what the actual date was.
About 2.5 years out.
Well, that far out, right? So 30 months out.
Actual boat training, yeah.
Yeah. So what did your weeks look like, and how did it progress, and what was the focus?
Well, my week was Monday through Friday, go to work. Monday through Friday after work, go to gym, and then Saturday, Sunday row. That was my schedule in a nutshell. Every week.
There you go.
Yeah.
It transformed when we got it changed significantly when we actually received the boat. I mean, leading up to the boat was basically just general fitness and getting ourselves. I mean, we're getting 4 older guys in shape, just general physical fitness. And we had a CrossFit trainer that helped us out a lot. You obviously helped us out with going down to JU and getting on the sculls, just getting the basic fundamentals until we got the boat. Once we got the boat, the focus was rowing on the boat, getting as many hours as we could on the boat. And then there was like 5 mandatory courses that Talisker makes you do. Just a basic sea survival class, navigation class, first aid at sea class. Help me out with the other ones.
VHF radio operator.
Yeah, the radio.
You got to have a license.
Gotcha.
And, so we had to complete those courses too in a certain time period, and it was all just combined. But mostly was really getting time on the boat, because we knew that the amount of time spent on the boat would be crucial to our success.
So you guys ate, breathed, slept this for 3 years.
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
The Talisker requirement. The Talisker requirement is 120 hours on the water, and I think we ended up at around 350.
Nice.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it can only help, right? So
absolutely. Well, yeah, we thought.
Obviously.
I want to pump Jason up here a little bit. He didn't know me from Adam, and I graduated from JU in 2018. I was a late comer to the college graduation, and
That's all right.
but this row thing didn't even exist. It wasn't really on my radar, and I had remembered JU had this row team, and I literally Googled who's the row coach for JU, and I found Jason, and I tracked him down through the phone directory there, and honestly, that first phone call, I almost cried at how interested he was and how on board. He was like, man, I can't believe this. Hell yeah, I'm in. Whatever you guys need. And I mean, like, he had known us forever, like we were best friends. And I can't believe how fortunate we were to find him and have him jump on board as eagerly as he did. So thank him for that. And yeah, that's what got the ball rolling for sure.
Yeah.
Well, good. Yeah. I mean, it was out of the blue, really. But
you don't get calls every day for ocean rowing?
Not usually, no. But it was, I felt for what you were doing. It means something. It matters, and there's a need. And so, it was, to be honest, like, I'm super honored that I got to be, a tiny part, but a part of what you guys are doing. And I think that was the cool. And I luckily was smart enough, or I should say not dumb enough, you know, to see far enough ahead that, hey, this is real. These guys are real, and this is going to be pretty cool. So anyway, it's not about me. It's about you guys. So you get there, you get to LaGomera, and your boat's not there. Now it looks there's one thing about this slideshow, like there are too many pictures to actually put up.
But this is a great one, Jason, because if you look at this shot you have up, it's 20, 21, 22, and there's no 23, and then it goes to 24. We were boat number 23. So we're not in that shot.
Yeah, I think why I put this shot up there, I didn't know you were 20. Well, I guess in the picture, Smug Mug, I knew you were 23, but I didn't recognize the numbers on the boat. Yeah. But also, well, there's the U.S. flag, but looking at
where our boat would have been.
Where it would have been, but looking at all of the different flags along there. Yeah. What was that like showing up? And and obviously you're in a different part of the world, but all of these different languages happening, but the camaraderie that went with being there, and it all, none of the other stuff mattered at that point. Like once you got there, it was all about that. What was that like?
To me, the camaraderie was instant. As soon as you met other rowers, I think we walked off the ferry and past the cafe where they were having coffee, and boom, we met the first couple of teams within minutes. And
wild
they're pulling wild waves. Yeah, those rock stars. And they're pulling you in. Let's have a coffee. Let's talk. And it was just so exciting to see everybody not on a Talisker snapshot, to actually start meeting people in person. Yeah. And you just got tighter and tighter as the week went on. It was really, it's an amazing community.
Yeah. And so not having the boat, I think, Hup, you said most teams had their boat for 9 days, and you guys had 3 days, a little less than 3 days, or 64 hours with your boat. How did that affect you guys mentally in this like huge task, right? You spent 2.5 years. What was that effect on you mentally? And then how did the community help you get over that?
Yeah, I answer the second part. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Bill, please. Yeah.
I was going to answer the second part of the question. How did the community, the other teams were phenomenal. They, from the second that they heard our boat was delayed, people were reaching out to us saying, hey, we'll help when it gets here. Don't worry about it. Don't worry. So we never had that real worry that the boat, once it got here, that we wouldn't get it ready, because we knew that we had support from so many other people, all the other rowing teams. Now, whether or not the boat was going to get there or not, that's a different story. We were all, I won't lie and say we weren't stressing it a little bit. And Paul probably more than most of us. But we had confidence that it would all work out. We didn't get that far without a little bit of confidence that things would work out for the right reasons. But
now guys, I gotta ask, just to make sure that we're really clear for the folks who might be listening and have no idea what is really entailed here.
Sorry. Yeah.
I mean, I've been to rowing regattas. I've coached high school and middle school kids. I've seen people take 45 minutes to rig a boat, right? There's 4 or 5 knots per rigger. What do you mean? You mean 9 days to pack this thing? What's going in this boat after it arrives?
Well, we had about 1,000 pounds worth of food, like 900 and some odd pounds, close to 1,000 pounds worth of food. And then it's already on the boat when it was shipped over. There you go.
There you go. Yeah.
So there's about 6,000 calories a day, give or take, per rower per day. And that's all in those little bundles, individually wrapped. They were on the boat when we shipped it over there, and then we have to take it out. It has to be inspected along with all of our gear. You see the blue tarps there. One blue tarp was food. The other blue tarp was all of our equipment and all of our personal gear. It's just, there's a lot that goes into this boat and on the boat and gets stored away into just to make sure you could even start the race.
Yeah. Did you guys have training sessions when you got there with the Atlantic Campaign's people as to what you needed to do, or by that point it was, hey, all this stuff's done, like let's get ready to go?
Yeah, the goal there is to pass the final inspection to start. And so you're just focused on getting official so that when the gun goes off, you can leave the pier.
They don't let you put the boat in the water until your inspection with all your gear is passed. So they'll come through multiple times and they'll tell you like this part of it's okay, but you still have to get this and this, or this piece of the puzzle isn't right. You have to go and find this and that. And luckily there's obviously local establishments that know this race is happening, and they're, they sell the odds and ends that you might need. I don't know how many runs we made for different paracord or
China Bazaar, Chinese Bazaar,
little brushes, or I can't even remember, flashlights or whatever we might have needed that was missing, or that was that we just were like, oh, we're gonna need this. Or we saw, great thing about it was we had plenty of time to look at other people's boats because ours wasn't there, and it was like, hey, we didn't think of that. This would be a great thing instead of what we're using. This is a lot less cumbersome. It's going to take up less space. Let's ditch A and go with B. And so we were able to learn. I think that was something that we did well. We observed and drank a lot of coffee.
Yeah. I don't know where the 9 days came from, but we did that crap in 2.5 days. So it wasn't 9 days.
The 9 days is every other crew. All the regular crews had 9 days, is what he said. So, Jason, I'd also like to mention this. When you talk about having a skipper and having a crew, when this part started, I want to tell you that Paul set a calm, graceful demeanor for the whole crew, which was crucial. It was like getting your mental game ready even before we got on the water, because we really were under a bit of adversity and not cracking and not having that devolve or losing focus. And I think Paul set a tone there that was really important right until we got up on the water. It was really, really well done as the skipper.
I think as a coach, you recognize, and Ryan can attest to this, right? Like when this is going to go live. When the crap hits the fan at any regatta or whatever, everybody looks to the leader, to the head coach, to the skipper. And deep down, you're freaking out too.
Sure.
But you can't portray that. So Paul, I know you were freaking out. How did you bring it down and tone it down?
I want to really throw the football back to Hupp, and throw it back to the crew, because I think when the crew is communicating with you and they're showing a resiliency that no matter what obstacle is going to be thrown in front of us, we're going to work together. And I think having those upfront conversations can give a skipper or a leader or a manager or anybody, whatever you want to give that title to, about a confidence that, we're going to make this happen. So I think it really goes back to the crew too. I mean, I've had many conversations, with Hupp during that time about the things that we would have to do once we were ready to kind of lock and road on that. But if I can, Jason, if I can go back to the community piece, and the piece Hupp was building on about when we got out there with the 11 different flags from the 11 different countries. I think that's crucial also in what Hupp's saying. When we got there, the reason we felt so comfortable with everybody, and the reason I really want to emphasize on this, is because if you've got any folks that are listening out there, whether they're young or old, but anybody that's going to take any kind of journey like this, it is so important that you focus on the people in your journey, and that will make all the difference in the world. So just to give you an example, like in the beginning when Hupp was talking with Reinach, or Hupp was talking with somebody that might have had a task that he had, or if Billy had a task with equipment and he was outreaching with somebody in the community, or Cam needed to talk to the medical officer, it was all those upfront conversations that happen on the 300th day, not the 90th day. When I say 300, it's back in the reverse. It was those conversations that happened in November of 2019. It's that conversation with that young man at Jacksonville University who was the head row coach named Jason. That's what kind of builds the relationship. And then that sustainability to have those continuous conversations go until the very end, like we are right now. That's what is just so important. That makes the experience.
Yeah, I think it's validating in a lot of ways. Like, again, Ryan and I are coaches, but for anybody that listening to this now or is going to listen to this in the future, right? Transparency, honesty, and love in your communication with each other, even though those conversations may be really hard, is going to be what gets you through the toughest of times. Like, and no matter how long it actually takes, right? Because you're building a relationship, you're building a trust, you're building a foundation. That is what carries you through those storms, right? And gets you onto the other side of it. That's incredible. Yeah. That's absolutely incredible.
Hey, Jason, another thing to give to the crew, and you all know this. I mean, when you're doing a short-term event, it's okay if things go wrong and you've got some, backup on it. But you take a long-term high-endurance event like this, and the whole crew has to go out, and that's what these three guys have done, I think, in a very spectacular fashion, is that you don't worry about what you don't have. You just really focus on what you do have. And what we had at that time when we didn't have the boat is we had each other. We had our plan. We still had our vision. And, you wait until that boat comes and then you tactically move along with it. Just like when you're out in the ocean. If you lose your water maker, you're not going to cry and focus on, why did we lose the water maker? You're just going to worry about what can we do to fix the water maker.
Yeah. Paul, let's say it one more time for all the athletes in the back. Seriously. Control the controllables. That's what you're saying. You took your time to worry about what you could make changes with and what you could affect positively, and you kept it there. I wanted to grab that. I'm going to tie this into something, but I want to take a quick second to remind everybody who is listening, if they're listening live, that we will get any comments or questions that you send in right now while we still have the guys from the crew on the show. So you got another 20 minutes probably to get a question in at most. We're not going to keep you guys for too long. So sorry for the quick advertisement, but is in coming back to the mindset and the beginning of the row, especially, one of the questions that I know a lot of people are going to ask immediately with you guys and your experience with military service, how much of that do you think was helpful in dictating your mindset and the way you handled yourself?
A lot. 90%. Yeah.
I got to say, when I came back, I've told a lot of people, I said, I don't know how somebody who's, pardon the expression, a desk jockey, or because I'm one now, but it's, somebody that just goes into this with a regular civilian mindset and just, because, other than our military, I don't know if this has been pointed out, none of us have a rowing background. We do now, but we didn't beforehand. So to sit here after the fact, I'm amazed that, we met some people that are planning on doing this next year and the year after, and they're like a husband and wife, or they're two friends that, work in accounting or something like that. And I'm like, wow, because I really think, honestly, because I really think that, the military bearing is what, for me, I just, even with the goofball that I am, there's still something to be said for that military bearing that you're taught and you learn and you carry on through life. And I think, this was something that really helped in our journey.
Awesome. So we'll keep moving. Like, we could talk about this all night long too, which is great, but also we've got a limited amount of time. So let's go to, you shove off, you say your goodbyes to everybody, which I can't even imagine what that emotion is like, shoving off from the dock and taking those strokes away from your family. But the picture we have up here, this Paul sent, he's taking the picture, but the last picture you had, so the last picture that came from you, I guess on a cell phone or whatever, to Facebook. And then you were gone, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was that feeling like, especially when that last tip of land disappeared over the horizon?
It's really moving. I can just start it on this. I know when we lost sight of Tenerife, it was pretty. It just throws a realism into it that we have each other right now. We definitely have our land support team, but the four guys in the boat right now is our world, our knowledge and our camaraderie, our ability to communicate with each other was just so apparent, so needed. And it was actually a beautiful thing. I think it kind of, tied us together. I mean, we always have our moments, but when it always came push to shove with anything, we have, even through our training, when we, I always think of the Tybee Island run, we were just always there for each other. But it does make it real, because I will tell you, Jason, I wrote a little piece on this for your viewers to listen to. You have, I'm going to just say the 3 guys, but myself also, 4 guys. You have 4 guys that left every, we don't, I could tell you right now, the 4 of us don't like hearing the word like hero or, stars or anything like that. We don't, we're 4 common guys, but we are 4 common guys that really left everything behind to give to others. So even when we, lost sight of the land, we still knew what the mission was about and its importance. Gotcha. So I guess I don't know if I'm really articulating that right, but the mission always came first, even losing sight of shore.
Gotcha. Yeah. That's moving. Like as Cam put it, which is desk jockeys. We can't imagine what that's like, and being able to finally hear somebody that's done it in this format to say something like that is pretty powerful and moving in a way that, I hate to say it like this, but there's more out there than your desk. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like there's so much more out there than your desk. And I hope that's something that we get out of this conversation too. So you're out there on the water, you're moving. What was the plan? Did you have a first 24 hours plan, first 48 hours?
Don't die.
See what happens. And then the plan goes out the window. Like,
sure.
Walk us through that first 48 hours. Like what were the steps of abandoning plans, sticking to plans, whatnot?
Well, the first couple of days you're seasick. First couple of days, all 4 of us were a little bit seasick.
Okay.
So I don't know. I mean, we still stuck to pretty much a regiment that we had planned, like the 2 hours on, 2 hours off rowing. But I mean, for the most part, we stuck to that. I want to say until about halfway through, and then we decided to shift up to a 3-hour shift at night. But yeah, the first couple of days, I think we ran into a little bit of an issue where we had to go on para anchor. I think that was on day 3, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So around day 3, we ran into a place where we weren't getting anywhere fast. So it was just more beneficial for us just to kind of hang and wait things out for conditions to get a little bit better.
Yeah, that storm had kind of shifted a little bit further south, and those easterly winds, or from the winds out of the west, were screwing you at the moment. So we got a question in from Will from Fight or Die, who was out there. How did you guys pass the time? During the time on anchor, but also like during storms and whatnot. Were you actively rowing during the rough storms, or did you literally just hunker in the cabins and throw out the sea anchor and let it pass and keep going?
Yeah, we were fortunate. We only anchored that one time. And so we got through that one night. Paul and I, we just kind of cuddled, it's a cozy little cabin. And then the next day it kind of broke and we moved on. I would like to say about that part too, is that if we go back to practice and the time on the water, we could have been better at para anchor. And that's a lesson that we learned while we were on the water. That, once you're out there in ocean rowing, as opposed to a coastal situation or even an ICW, that getting out there and understanding how to deploy a para anchor, for anybody that's thinking about it, that's one you want to have in the bag for sure before you go out, because we underutilized that and we could have deployed it better. Lesson learned on me on that one too. So
gotcha.
It was deployed at a time. Yeah. And it was deployed at a time where it was just enough time to give us extra rest. So, that adrenaline, the seasickness was taking its toll. And I think when we actually dropped it, it was time for like where we would normally be going to sleep. So I think we ended up, 10 hours we were on it?
Yeah, just about.
Something like that, 9-10 hours. I forget exactly what the time frame was, but it was just that time of the day where it was like, okay, your body's still kind of in land mode, and we were able to sleep right through it. There wasn't like playing cards or long drawn, touching conversations or anything like that. Sorry.
Oh, come on. Yeah, I had
At least not at our end. I don't know.
Not on your end of it. Not on your end
I
of it.
slept. I was like snoring. Billy will tell you how I snore. So
Yes, you do.
Well, guys, you've thrown a lot out there. That's all happened in your 3 days from the start line.
Right.
yeah.
And so there is a lot. How are you trying to inform the decisions on which direction you're pointing the boat and which way you're trying to travel? And then when you go on seek or when you go off, how are you making those decisions?
Yeah. So if I could throw a little bit in there on this one, the weather is your biggest factor. Always. You gotta have a great weather router. Anyone will tell you to. And before you leave the campaign made, there's some weather coming across. Everyone would do best to push south. Go down as you can. They give you a way where they would like you to be before you make the turn to the west. So we really were fortunate in trying to out weather, and it kept us really focused on direction or course. And then I'm going to prop up Paul's wife, Ruth, jumped on a great weather router, given her aviation experience, and was providing us some really critical data as that make that turn to the west. And you can see for some of the other boats, they up in the runners, they got caught in some of that we managed to avoid. So I think we were fortunate there that we had a great team all the way around here and on the boat to help you navigate that part. Yeah. Got to have somebody on that weather.
Yeah.
It's
the ocean.
One thing I think that's critical also that a lot of your viewers know. Yeah. Is you get caught in something in ocean rowing, and it's really hard to make up time. And I got to give the four of us really a lot of props that after we came off that sea anchor, that we really got back into the second group of folks. Cause I think at that time, a lot, kind of wrote us off like, well, wow, they're going to be way back, and we roped right back into, right into the pack, even for, four guys that never had the mission and focus on racing. We just really kind of more focused on just navigating well, still kind of giving us the best ride around weather and so forth.
So what was it like out there that, we're running through this time, but storms, was it hot? Was it cold? I see in the pictures we have up with the rain and the rainbows and the rain jackets. Like what was it like?
A little cooler than we thought.
Really?
Coming out of Spain in the evening time, it was cool. It didn't really get warm until you actually made that real westerly turn. So it was actually a little bit cooler. We didn't get a whole lot of rain. We got maybe 10 days worth, I'd say, where it actually rained and got us wet. But the evenings were cool. Daytime was temperate, so it was pretty decent. And then once we got a little bit closer to Antigua, then it started getting hot during the day and a lot warmer at night.
Gotcha.
So there's like 2 weeks where it's all the same. You put on your cold weather gear, you come out, you row for 5 minutes, you strip off the coat. 5 minutes later, you strip off the pants.
Yeah, in one of these pictures, we got some jockeys hanging out to dry too, which is pretty good. So as we go on, I want to talk and be a little bit specific with each one of you individually. Paul, we talked about before, it seemed like every picture that I see of you is of you in the water and whatnot. What was it like, or A, were you the only one that jumped in the water to clean the bottom of the boat? And B, what was it like knowing, as I think before this all started, Hup and Charlotte and I were talking about, the closest person to you outside of the people rowing, in the middle of this race were people on the space station, right? What was it like being out there 1,500 miles from anybody, any land, and you jumping in the water and obviously taking these absolutely incredible pictures?
Well, thanks on the pictures. You know, for me, it was a lifelong, um, a lifelong dream to be in that kind of an setting, to be in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean in 16,000 feet of water. I just knew that, may never happen again in my entire life. But it really kind of ties into, Jason, I think the piece that you brought out in the beginning about One for the Sea. And I know Hupp recognized this in my personality, and Cam definitely recognized it. And Billy always jokes with me on the island when I'm doing it. Actually, I was in Billy's house today, dripping sand and water at one of our meetings in my wetsuit. For me, I find, and Hupp even made these comments on the boat. He's like, I bet you feel really good, which is real perceptive of him, that the ocean, for some people, and maybe everybody in different ways, has a health wellness property to it that just can make things really just that much better. And that's why I was really always looking for, I was really trying to respect the guys. If I was on a solo row, I probably would have been in the ocean probably twice a day, floating. But, you also have to take the guys and everybody into consideration because it's, it's a 4-man crew.
Yeah.
But it was a very, robust time for me mentally to be able to just jump in there and see this vast creation from God that just is so overwhelming. I mean, look at that school of fish. It just was mind blowing, that they would come up to you that close, and there's just an energy exchange that's unbelievable.
Yeah. And Hupp, like you were this Professor Hupp series that you had going on there for a while. Seemed like you were the navigator, technology guru, whatnot.
Yeah.
What was the inspiration behind Professor Hupp and all of that?
That really just kind of popped out organically. There was not a plan for that, except that we knew we could send content back. And because our community was so important to us, we wanted them to feel like they were coming along on the journey. Like we really wanted to take everybody with us. So that's really what that organically grew out of. I think submarining, as a submariner, I'm kind of a techie nerdy kind of guy that way. And so I love the pieces and the parts and the trying to keep things running. But everybody, honestly, all the time, the whole crew does that. I hope it didn't come off as one guy, but the whole crew is taking care of everything all the time. I just happen to be the guy on video to send some content back, So
you're just the face, and everybody else is doing everything else.
Yeah, somebody's got to do that part.
Somebody's got to row.
But yeah, somebody
has to row, right?
So speaking of people rowing, Bill, I would say the majority of the pictures I saw of anybody rowing was just you rowing. I felt like you were the only, in pictures that came back, you were the only guy that was sitting there with oars in your hand rowing. Thought that was pretty interesting. But so Bill, you have a different obstacle or challenge that you overcame while you were out there. That's pretty inspiring as a whole. And having diabetes, and how were you able to manage that and overcome that obstacle or that challenge and make it an opportunity?
Well, it helped. I was diagnosed with type 1 juvenile diabetes in 1991. So I've had it for a number of years, and I've been able to kind of keep it in check and can control it that way. I mean, on the row, it brought in a whole different challenge just because of the food and the type of food that we were subject to have on the boat. There's not a lot of fresh fruit and vegetables on the boat, but so that brought it to a whole different level for me. At first, it took a little bit of tweaking, the first 5 or 6 days, and plus the seasickness didn't help. The stomach is not wanting to eat, but it worked itself out after about 5 days, where I was able to kind of keep it in check.
Yeah.
I have a device called a continuous glucose monitoring system. It's a Dexcom system, and I don't want to do an advertisement for Dexcom, but I use that the whole way, and only one point where it got wet, it got saturated, and it wasn't working properly. So I was very thankful that I had a contact back in the US that I was able to call and help me reset the Dexcom system. I was also very thankful that Cam was okay with having that in the cabin and beeping constantly, because it would beep if my sugar got too high or beep if it got too low. and to keep it dry, I had to hang it in the cabin when Cam was sleeping when he was off shift. So he had to listen to it all the time, and thankfully he didn't get so mad and throw it overboard. But yeah, after I was able to, after that, I was able to keep it under control. But the whole diabetes thing is just, for people that know me, I've always liked to kind of challenge myself and do things that people tell me that I can't do. I mean, when I first got diagnosed, they told me I couldn't be in the Army, and from there, I've gone on to do a lot of different things with my diabetes that a lot of people say, oh my God, you can do that with diabetes. So rowing the ocean is one of them. So
just another check in the book, right? That's awesome. And Cam, youngest member, the youngster of the group. So I
eligible for AARP in a couple of months, by the way. I'm just saying. Sound like I'm 20.
What I would consider is something pretty special. You really solidified and chiseled your name in the history books here, being the first United States Air Force veteran to row across the Atlantic. Knowing you, I don't think you ever think about it like that. But what does that? What do you think that means? Like, what does that mean to you, or what can that mean to the rest of the United States Air Force and the youngsters coming up in it, and just as a whole?
Well, first, it means that the other three branches could step off and stop making fun. No, I took a lot of guff from the other three branches represented on this boat. I don't think it says anything more than just the fact that anybody did it. There's a small part of me that's like, cool, that's great. Wasn't anything I set out to do. It wasn't like I found out that if there was another Air Force guy that did it before me, I wasn't going to do it. No, I just think it's great that we had a well-rounded crew, and that, it's the first time that 4 different branches have been on the same boat at the same time. And I think, Paul and I talked about this as well as some of us, but Paul and I were on a specific row where we took some people out, and there was this one young gentleman that came out with us. And that one particular time sticks out in my mind. And after we got done rowing with him, he was going off to summer camp, and Paul and I actually had a really cool conversation about, we had taken a number of people out, and people reached out to us. Anyway, I'll come to a conclusion here. How great it would be if, somehow, somewhere along the line, unbeknownst to us, hopefully with our knowledge, that, somehow we inspired somebody to do this. And if it takes, somebody from a different branch doing it, so be it. If it takes I'm also the first JU member, as far as I know.
That's
I had that flag flying too.
You did. I saw that one too.
Yeah, but no, I just think that any one of us, if somebody sees it and they feel the urge, they should just know it's, going with the other foundation that I know we'll talk about here in a little bit, Cross the Line. That name has a meaning. that comfort line, that what everybody or anybody's comfortable with, whether they're a veteran or they're dealing with something else as a civilian, things are doable, and you just can't let yourself get in the way. And, if you have the knack and the mentality and the drive, then do it. And if you got 3 crazy friends that are talking you into it, do it anyway.
Even more so, do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
So go ahead, Ryan.
Well, we have another guest who's going to join the show here in a moment, and so what we've got is 4 different ocean crossings now represented, with bringing Suzanne Pinto in.
Hold on a
good
second.
evening, Suzanne. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, nice to see you all.
Hey, Suzanne.
Hi, Suzanne.
And there's a shared experience in this, and that we all did an ocean row in one way or another. But Jason, this was one of your questions, and it's a simple question. I'd like to ask the guys from Foar From Home and Suzanne to describe this moment. And if you view the show, you're able to see that. but this is the guys from Foar From Home. So Suzanne, in your crossings, how has that arrival at port felt to
Oh,
you?
it's totally the same. We came into port. It was a long time. It was pitch black. The port authorities didn't want us to come in. So we came in anyway. We couldn't find the shore. We couldn't find the port, but I could hear my children screaming my name.
Wow.
So we
Awesome.
basically followed the sound and arrived in port. And then because we came in illegally, we were detained the next day for not passing inspection. And they said, well, you could have brought in a terrible disease. And in fact, we did, but we didn't know that at the time.
Wow.
I just want to mention that it's International Women's Day, and Suzanne is representing the female rowing community. So I just want to make sure we had somebody on who was representing women rowers and inspiring the rest of us to do amazing things like this. So,
Oh, heck yeah.
Absolutely.
yeah.
Well, I
Yeah.
noticed you all rowed my boat. You did Britannia 3.
No, they were courageous.
Courageous.
No.
We were
Okay.
encourageous.
Courageous. So do you all sell your boats after you're done, right?
No.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Our boat went back to England
Oh,
on a
okay.
freighter.
Yeah, we still have our boat, and we're going to try to sell it or lease it.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Or use it
sell,
again.
not
One of the three.
Sale, but yeah.
Nice.
I think ours is still on a container ship on its way back to the States, right, Paul?
Exactly.
It got
It's
in.
in West Palm. It's
West Palm.
getting
Oh.
cleared through customs now. Hey, Jason and Brian, I think and Suzanne, you could probably relate to this. Not probably, I know you can. I think what's really important that your listeners understand too is if you could put that image back up of us crossing the line real quick. So I'd like you to all know that on October 1st, 2019, that all four of us, when we sat down and had no boat, no money, we had just pads in front of us with a vision, that all four of us, we saw this image that very night. And
Yeah.
I think that's very important
totally.
Yep. There was never a doubt in our mind, other than something else, happened along the way that we could not control, that the four of us were not going to be together. And that really coming off the boat, there is a symbol of us hugging on the boat, coming off and hugging. We did that along with the community. That's an amazing vision to have, I think.
Yep.
So there's this
Triumph.
picture of you. Oh, sorry, Suzanne.
That's right. I was just saying how triumphant that moment was.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So there are these pictures of the before and after, and I know all of you and Ryan included, right? And Hupp and I and Charlotte were talking beforehand that I can only imagine, but when you start and then when you finish, you've got to be changed in some way, obviously physically, right, and whatnot. But I would also assume that each one of you may have had your own journey and your own adaptation, your own change of what it meant to you. That might be slightly different and very individual to you. For all of you, what was that like for you? How did it change you? How did it change you and your outlook on life and you as just a human and how you see the world now? Anybody can start.
I'll go first because it's quick. We've been back such a short time that I'm still trying to come to terms with that question. In all fairness, I would love to hear Suzanne's answer because she's had some time to really reflect
To
on
think
that.
about it.
Yeah.
I think that I learned to live with myself, be in myself, understand things. One of the great things I understood is that nobody cares when I'm pissed off. And that's so soft. But just there's so many hours facing adversity and danger and life-threatening things that to sit and know yourself better, I think that was the most fun. I usually am too busy to know myself.
And
But that
Suzanne,
was, I think,
When we talked earlier, you said you'd do it again in a heartbeat. Did I hear that correctly?
Yeah. Well, in fact, I was invited to cross the Pacific, and I was pretty excited about that, but my family said no. They didn't want to do this again. We were just planning a trip to be the first to row from Miami to Gloucester, Massachusetts, and that fell through. So now I'm going to be rowing in 5 days in Vancouver, ocean rowing.
Mhm.
But I would go back and do it again anytime.
Yeah.
Well,
I think for me, sorry, just real quick. So, yeah, I think I definitely came back with a perspective of, my wife says I've never seemed so relaxed. You know, my shoulders aren't as tense. Yeah. I think that going back to work has changed a little bit of that, but no, it just, you know, I think if you learn anything, it's, you know, you're a, you know, that old saying, you're a speck of sand in the grand scheme of life. And I think the ocean really makes you realize just how small you are and how small your problems are.
Mm.
And when you come off that boat, yeah, you know, Ian, one of the gentlemen, the organizer, or not the organizer, I'm not giving him the right title, but anyway, Ian from Atlantic Challenges and Talisker Whiskey, you know, he says he wants to meet everybody at the boat to see it in their eyes, because he can tell when he looks at you whether you get it or not. And I think you can see in that after picture, I think all four of us get it. You know, life is short, you know, and we did something that we absolutely, you know, we put our blood, sweat, and tears into for 3 years, and while we were on the water. So yeah, for me, I've got a 18-year-old and a 7-year-old at home here, and all I thought about was just wanting to be a better dad and a better husband, and spend as much time with them as I could, because I think, you know, that was something that I saw on the water, was time short, even if it seems long on the water.
And Suzanne, I think you made history when you went on your row, right?
Yes, I was the oldest female ever to cross an ocean.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, nice,
That's
Susan, nice.
Wow.
I was I turned 59. My birthday was on the row.
Oh,
Nice,
Paul.
rocket.
That happened to Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you the
59.
old guy? No.
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 Yeah, I think I delivered us in the AARP magazine. So,
so let's.
I had a question that was also asked, and I want to make sure that we give both Bill and Paul a chance to answer that question as well, of how it impacted you. The return to normal, that was what Jonathan from Pacific Boys asked. Have there been any surprises for you guys in the way that you're feeling now, a few weeks out of your crossing?
Yeah, we'll make it the two-part. So I can answer the first part of the question was yeah, I'm kind of in like with Cameron, I'm much more relaxed. When I wake up every morning, I'm usually a pretty high-strung person, and at times, I mean, my day, I have a checklist. I have to get everything done, or I freak out. So I don't do that anymore. So I'm much more, I wake up every day and say, okay, whatever the day brings, it brings. You know, but as far as the second part, I guess, is getting back to normal life. Yeah, I think so. You know, here on the island, we live in a small community. So things are kind of starting to get back to normal, at least for me anyhow, but that's the way I look at it.
How about you, Paul?
for me, I don't know. Maybe I'm, you know, when you look at yourself differently. I always felt like I was kind of mellow before. I feel like I'm still kind of mellow. I really feel like I've gotten back to normal pretty quickly. I think about a week when I came back, I got on the erg, or actually it might have been a little bit sooner because I needed to go to the bathroom. So the erg kind of helped that process a little bit, gave me the motion of rowing again. That helped accelerate it. I had a power shake and then went on the erg, and good things happened. So
The things you get used to.
yeah. So but then the erg just felt good. So I've been back on the erg really every other day. I actually got on a coastal rowboat, which was a gentleman from JU. Clint took me out. I went down to Jacksonville and did some coastal rowing. I'm waiting for him to come back from vacation so I can jump on his boat again. So I feel like a lot has gone back to normal. I've got a house that I'm restoring. I jumped right into that. I'm back surfing. And the only thing I have to say that's probably not normal, and maybe my crewmates can help me on this one, and they can send me to intervention. I've just been eating that's been like out of control, man. Well, I've had Lucky Charms, Punchkis, you name it. I've had it.
We had a lot of
3 years since you had that.
I talked to the women at Project X, the Swiss women, and I said, what was your first meal off the boat? And she said, a cheeseburger. And our second meal was a cheeseburger.
Oh, man. Oh.
Yeah. I think they just kept eating cheeseburgers. All right.
So I mean, to end it too, I'm like with Suzanne, so I would really love the opportunity again to, if I had to say anything probably negative about the row, I like to be in the water more than I like to be on top of it, but I would like to row again.
Well, there's something special even for rowing, and it's not just there's a lot of shared experience for those of us that have done an ocean crossing. Statistically, it's a big minority. Not a lot of people do it. More people have gone to outer space and into orbit than have rowed across an ocean. And a lot of people have sailed relative to the number that have rowed, but you're still going, there's a threshold usually between rowing and sailing where you're going too fast to really be part of it once you got to sail up. And I think that it's pretty hard to describe. I really appreciate the way that the five of you have put some of that to words, the feeling that you get. So,
hey, Jason and Brian, if I can add on there, I think I don't know if anybody's seen the post, and I know each one of the guys feel the same way. We took it as like individuals, like the ocean really reshaped us as individuals, but I think we have to put that community piece back in there. I know that each one of us, the community really reshaped our hearts, the way they came in and supported our row from our vision to the very end, and now even beyond the row. I mean, every day we're out in the community, there's just nothing but.
Yeah.
Oh no, we lost him.
I think he was starting to get a bad internet connection, but there is one other question, I think, from
for Suzanne. Did you follow some of the other female crews in the intervening years? So how much have you paid attention to dot watching?
Oh no, I watch. I watch to see what they're doing, where they're going. I'm part of the Ocean Rowing Society, so I get to notices all the time about where people are. I mean, there's not that many women's crews, so I get to watch everybody's movement across the ocean. But yeah, I was disappointed. There were some people the year or 2 years after I went, some women were doing a trip and they disbanded. They couldn't do it, which is unfortunate.
Yeah. There a lot of things can happen, and hopefully Paul's internet gets back and we're able to welcome him back. But I think one of the things he was going to, as he talked about community, was some of the causes that the Foar From Home guys that you guys partnered with. And we do want to, we're well over time. So to anyone still listening and watching, thank you for hanging with us. Thank you very much to our guests for being here. And I want to give you guys a chance to talk real quickly about, let's start with the K9s For Warriors.
Yeah, I'll jump in and give you a quick one on that. K9s For Warriors has been around for about 10 years. And in that time, they've rescued dogs and as well as gotten them from breeders and trained them to be partners with warriors who suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder and other PTSD related issues like suicide. And they have about a 99.9% success rate, 700 dogs in the last 10 years. So originally our idea was just to help train a couple dogs, just raise enough money to help put a couple dogs through training. It's about $28,000 per dog was our understanding. And then the campaign just kept growing and growing. And proud to say that we ended up building a mega kennel at the K9s For Warriors facility in Ponte Vedra, which was a $500,000 buy-in at our level. But that will train 150 dogs a year in perpetuity. And that's because they have currently about a 4-year waiting list for folks who need service dogs. I feel blessed. The whole campaign came together. The community came together. It got bigger and bigger. And it's just going to make such a difference for these veterans' lives. And so I think it's amazing to take an endurance or an extreme sport and have it turned into something so big and beautiful that you never really saw coming. Just because we had the idea to attempt this crossing, it became this really big program. So quite proud of that. That's Courageous Kennel on their screen there. They're going to name it after the boat.
So in talking about, like communities and whatnot, right? Your veteran community is the other side of this, right? So Canines For Warriors is one of them, and Cross the Line Foundation is another.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about Cross the Line Foundation as well, and what it's doing to help that community.
You want me to take that?
Yeah, please.
Bill.
Cross the Line's a local nonprofit that was formed here in Fernandina Beach, and it actually generated the name Cross the Line came from a kayaking event that we do here locally once a year, where we find a select veteran charity or veteran organization to donate to, and we do a kayak paddle from Georgia to Florida. Back to Fernandina. It's a little 9-mile kayak paddle, but that's the Cross the Line signature event. But Cross the Line also has evolved to the point where we started, and I say we because Paul and I are actually the co-founders of Cross the Line. Started a scholarship endowment where we award 4 scholarships to either children of veterans, students that are entering the ROTC program, or veterans in the TAP program that are transitioning out of the military and looking to go to a trade school of some sort. So the money that Foar From Home raised, or some of the money that Foar From Home raised, went towards that scholarship endowment to help establish that scholarship endowment, which at this point is now pretty significant and will allow us to award scholarships for the next 10 years. Through Cross the Line with the Cross the Line name. But again, we do different fundraisers. We've rose to a point where now we have a Veterans Day run that we're going to start doing, Cross the Line golf tournament, and all those funds raised. It's all strictly the Cross the Line board's 4 people, and we're all volunteers. It's all run by volunteers, and then anything we raise goes to different veteran charities or veteran organizations. And a plug for them, this year's paddle, if anyone's interested, is June 25th here. So the registration goes up on Monday.
So June 25th at Amelia Island?
Yeah, well, we boat people over. It starts in St. Mary's, Georgia, and across the line back to Fernandina. But yeah, we shuttle people over to St. Mary's.
All right. And where can people get more information on that, Bill?
It'll be up on Paddle Guru on Monday. The registration site will be up and running on Paddle Guru Monday, and different on our Facebook page, the Cross the Line Facebook page, and Cross the Line Foundation website. We'll have information about the paddle.
Wonderful. Well, I know we're way over time at this point, but it's always a pleasure to talk. Talk life, talk relationships, talk what the good stuff is, right? So Foar From Home guys, Paul's gone, but at this point, Hup, Bill, Cam, this is the first time I've seen y'all since you've been back. I'm driving down there hopefully in the next couple of weeks, so I'll have to stop through and Hup catch a concert if possible.
Well, I noticed the next year's rower asked about the physical part. The hands are still coming around. Suzanne, I don't know how long it may have taken you and Ryan to get your digits. As a guitar player, it's been quite the struggle.
I know, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to add to that too. My fingers are still a little bit screwed up.
Yeah. So they're fight or die guys for next year. I saw your question pop up there. Is Man, take those stretches seriously when you get back. Start working them right away. Yeah.
Quick shout out to next year's. I missed an opportunity. Sorry to
There it
the
is.
Fight or
Yeah, tell
Die
me.
team. But next year's Fight or Die team is slated to be an all Air Force team. So I'm pretty proud of that. I'll be watching those guys. So
Cameron set a benchmark.
heck yeah. So if anybody needs any help on how an Air Force guy does it, just give me a call.
got a
I'm
nice
pretty proud of
question in
that.
there.
So I'm
Air
proud of
Force
those
all the
guys.
way.
That's it. Aim high.
Yeah.
So,
Awesome. Well,
Jason,
thanks, guys.
yeah.
I really appreciate you guys being on here and coming on and sharing your story.
We appreciate the opportunity to do so. And I do want to plug this too. I think I haven't had anybody break this for me yet, but Amelia Island, Florida is now the home of more ocean rowers per capita than any city in the United States.
Really?
Absolutely.
I think at 4. We have
Four of
4
us.
guys all from the same zip code. So
100% unconfirmed.
unconfirmed, but no one's
It is
contested me
unconfirmed.
yet.
I can tell you, Thunder Bay, Ontario has quite a bit per capita as well.
In the United States. So
In the United States,
yeah, I'm just-
Oh, in the United States.
There's
a
There
good
you go.
chance.
all right.
We're
I'll
a
have to
very
look those
small
up.
island, so
It's all
Thank-
island people. You get a bunch of weird boat people who live on islands.
Absolutely.
true
Yeah.
Let me just add that I'm not going to do my usual outro, Ryan. I just loved having this conversation you guys on. It's just such an interesting, different aspect of rowing. You got the motion, but it's so different from anything I've experienced. But anyway, we will update the show notes if you want to include anything else about these charities and foundations that you support. Just let me know, and I'll get it up there.
well, thank you so much for
Yeah,
having
thank
us.
you guys,
What an
and
honor.
Suzanne and Charlotte.
Thank
Thank you, and happy International Women's Day. All right,
Absolutely.
with you guys.
Suzanne, it's an
pretty
honor to meet
amazing.
you.
It's absolutely an honor.
Thank you,
You
guys.
did an-
Appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you, Jason.
All right,
Okay.
yeah,
Come
bye.
on
guys.
down, Ryan.
Very nice meeting you, Charlotte. Nice meeting you.
Likewise, you can stay on if you want, but
Oh, I'll
we're going to
hang out.
end the broadcast. Yeah.
All right.